Okay, part 3. So my doula showed up and Chris showed up, and I finished eating my lunch and they ate, and we were all just chatting, and then my friend showed up for a minute, so we visited with her before everything got started. Then I did pumping because, you know, nipple stimulation can cause contractions. So what we did was we pumped, I think it was 15 minutes on, and then you waited 30 minutes and did nothing. And then you pumped for 15 minutes and then you waited and did nothing, and then pumped for 20 minutes and then wait. So usually it's strong enough of a stimulation that it gets really, really strong contractions going. The reason why you take a break is so that you don't overstimulate, because you can overstimulate your uterus and just make it go crazy, and you can even have uterine rupture if you overstimulate. So you have to be really careful. So we did that. That took a while. Of course, it took a couple hours. I felt my uterus contracting with it, but the contractions were very sporadic. They weren't strong, and I wasn't having any pain. I was very discouraged. We had done that for hours, and that wasn't working. We decided, hey, let's get up and walk around. During this also, I was taking, I have a homeopathic birth kit by Helios, and I was taking it's a homeopathic to induce contractions, or to help contractions build up and get stronger. And so I was doing that, and it's like the homeopathic form of blue cohosh. So I was taking that and another one, I don't know how to pronounce it, and to see if those would help too. We went on a walk, and we walked back and forth down the halls kind of fast. I did some squats and stuff, and I don't know, we just gave it our all with all these different types of natural induction methods. And when I was walking, I kind of felt some tightening, and I got all excited. I'm like, maybe things are going to start, maybe things are going to start. We got back to the room, and it was like 6 or 7. My doula left real fast to go teach. She teaches a childbirth class in the hospital that night, so she thought, well, nothing's going on right now. She wouldn't have even been there if she wasn't my friend. She wouldn't have. Usually doulas don't come until you're actually having consistent contractions, but she was there for me because we're really good friends. So she left real fast to go do her class, and then she was going to come back. So I'm just sitting there with Chris, and I'm just like kind of scared. I'm like, why aren't things starting? And I'm thinking in my mind, I know what's going to happen next. Like, I know that the doctor's going to come and we're going to have to talk about Pitocin, and I don't want to, but I think I need to. And so I'm fighting with myself in my brain right then. And I'm like, well, I have to do this, and this baby has to be born. But then that selfish part of you is like, but I don't want to do this. I want to run out of this room right now. I want to go home and just, stay pregnant and, get my home birth and whatever, but you can't be selfish. You love your baby more than anything, and you want your baby to be born okay. So, and they just kept telling me, this has to happen. I know this isn't what you want or what you would choose, but it has to happen. And so this is beyond your control. You have to do what you have to do. And that is so hard to deal with when it comes to your birth. So the doctor came in, we just had a long talk about it, and she's like, I hate Pitocin so much, I think it's evil. And I was like, me too. And and she's like, it's a lot harder and whatever, and I don't like to use it unless I have to, but I want you to have this baby vaginally. And I was like, yeah, that's my big goal right now, is that's all, like, when it comes down to it, that is the most important thing that has to happen at this birth, is, to me, in regards of birth stuff, is I want this baby to come out vaginally. I do not want surgery. So I finally just said, okay, I'll do it. And, I had my moments where I would break down and be like, no, why do we have to do this? Why can't I leave? And they would have to, tell me all over again the reasons why I was doing it. So they decided, she said, well, because the baby's little and, premature or whatever, and we don't want to stress the baby out, we're going to start at 1 and go up every 30 minutes by 1. So usually they go by 3 every 15 minutes or something crazy like that. So she's like, it'll be a long time before you feel anything, probably, so you can probably get some rest. And, we hadn't had much sleep at all. So especially me. Chris had a whole night's sleep the night before, but I had like 3 hours. So we're like, okay. So they started the Pitocin, and we tried to rest. we all just laid down and relaxed and tried to rest. And then I got to a certain point. I'm not sure what amount that it got to, but I started feeling stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm feeling contractions now. This is, wow. Well, I'll call them pressure waves because we were doing hypnobirthing, if everyone didn't know that. So I started listening to when they kind of got, I was like, oh, I kind of have to work through these. And so I got my headphones out and put them in my phone, and I have the hypnobirthing tracks on my phone. And I listened to the birth affirmations track, which was amazing for me. The relaxation ones weren't as good as that one because there's a lot of points where she says, I'm letting go of the fear or whatever of how things, whatever, and like, I don't know how to explain it, but the things that she said were perfect at that point to get me in a more positive mindset about how this all had to happen, and trying to make the best of it. So I'm just listening to it, and I'm just like, whenever it would get really intense to the peak of the contractions, I would just moan, like it was uncontrollable. Like I had to do like this low moaning thing, and so I would do my hypnobirthing breathing, but I would moan at the peak, and then I would kind of just like rock back and forth in bed, or my doula has some pictures of me and my head is up, and I would like during when I was working through them. But I was doing really good staying relaxed, and sometimes I would lay back in the bed and just like completely zone out. I was falling asleep in between the contractions, and then she would just know I was having one because I would start the low moans. So I was working through them. Chris is sleeping on the cot thing next to me, and so then I don't know what time it got really, really intense. And so I just kind of like, they both, I think, realized, oh, we need to help her now. So, you know, they were kind of encouraging me or whatever. But at some points I just felt so alone, though, because they both didn't know I wasn't expressing that I needed more support. And so that was kind of tough. But so I'm working through them, and then they just suddenly get to the point where I'm really, really, really focusing through them. I'm really not caring anything about anything else. They're so intense, it's like mind-blowing, I guess. And I'm trying my hardest to relax through them, but it's like my body is uncontrollably tensing up during the peaks. And I was so frustrated because I knew how important relaxation was, and it wasn't happening because of the Pitocin. And Pitocin contractions are nothing like natural contractions. Pitocin contractions, instead of this gradual build up and then a peak and then a down, it's just like bam, you're in the most crazy pain and intensity, and it just goes and then drops down. And so you don't have, it's like you can't take a breath and prepare. It's like someone's just hitting you with like this crazy sledgehammer or something. So, and at that point it started being all in my back, which I don't know if I've shared this, but Keegan's birth was extremely, extremely difficult because he was posterior and I had excruciating back labor. And that's not like, I mean, normal contractions, you can do things to kind of ease them and kind of make them tolerable and workable and work through them. But with back labor, it was extremely difficult, and that was what made it such a hard thing last time. So when that started happening, I got really discouraged. I was like, oh my gosh, this baby's posterior too. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And then I got up to go to the bathroom, and I had to drop. I got a contraction and had to drop to my hands and knees on the floor in the bathroom. And I'm just rocking back and forth, and the pain, it was like an out-of-body type of experience because the pain was so intense. And it's unfortunate that I have pain and I keep saying pain, and I'm trying not to, because I know the hypnobirthing, it's like, oh, well, there's not pain, it's just intensity, but the Pitocin just makes it not. It makes it pain. It makes it insane. So I don't know how to explain it. I can't explain, but I started vomiting just uncontrollably, and I was convulsing because the pain was so intense, and the contractions were so intense, and just it blew my mind. Like there was no way to cope with it. So that happened, and I tried to get back, and I'm freaking out, and my doula's like, you know what I would tell someone, any other client right now, what I would recommend. And I said, yeah, I don't want to hear it. Do not say that word. Do not bring up those options right now because I do not want to do those. But then another contraction would hit and I would be convulsing and vomiting again, and I'm trying to have Chris press on my back to help. But there's no way for me to calm down. We tried relaxation techniques, but I can't control my body tightening up because the intensity is so unnatural of Pitocin. It's just not like real contractions at all. It's completely unnatural, completely different than natural labor would ever be. So I kind of got to a point where my doula was talking to me and she's like, you know what you need to do to be able to have this baby. She said, if you keep going like this, you're not going to dilate at all and you're not going to have the baby. And I was like, yeah. And so then the nurse came in and she's like, you're acting like you're done though. You're acting like you're in transition, and with the puking and all of that, and how I kept saying, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. And so I consented to a cervical check, which I hadn't done any for the past 2 days because I knew that it upped your chance of infection huge, and you just don't want anyone, just keep everything out of there. So, but I consented because I thought, well, maybe. But then I told them, I don't want to do this though because I know that you're going to tell me I'm 3 centimeters. I'm going to be so discouraged and I'm just not going to want to go on. And she's like, no, I really think you're farther along. So she checked me, and the nurse's face, I knew immediately that it was not what we thought. And she goes, so you've made some progress? And I'm like, oh my God. She's like, yeah, you're about 3. And I just started crying. I just started sobbing. Because I knew what I had to do and I didn't want to go there. So, when you want a completely natural birth and this is happening to you and you had to make decisions that you wouldn't have made otherwise, and I kind of felt like a failure, I guess, because I don't know, why couldn't I do it despite the Pitocin is what I was thinking. Like, I know this is unnatural, I know this is crazy, and most women can't do it, with the Pitocin, but I should be able to. Like, I'm the doula, and I'm trying everything that I to help other people with, and I encourage other women to do this, and why can't I? So that was kind of disappointing, but at the same time, it was like, if I don't get the epidural right now, I'm not going to make any progress, and I'm going to end up with a C-section, is what I'm thinking, because I've seen that happen so many times, where a mom can't relax, and it's failure to progress, and then before you know it, she has an infection, because they keep checking or whatever, and then she's wheeled back for a C-section and she's devastated. So I didn't want that. So we had to make this tough decision then to get the epidural, and that was not an easy decision. And I hate epidurals. I had one with my first birth, and I hated the feeling of it. I had a panic attack because I don't like your legs feel like they're asleep and it kind of hurts. You have no control over moving. You can't do anything. I don't know. I just don't like that. I'm a type A personality. I'm a control freak, and it freaks me out, and it gives me a major anxiety, and I just hate it. So I knew that was coming, and I was upset about it. But if it was going to get this baby here vaginally and safely, then... And we had a time clock, too. I mean, it's not like I could just keep working through the Pitocin for another 16 hours. It was, I was only a 3 at that point. I mean, who knew how long it was going to take, and this baby needed to come out soon. So it was late at night by that point. It was early the next morning by that point. Yeah. So they called the anesthesiologist, and we're just waiting for him to come. Apparently, he was in the next room giving another epidural to a lady whose birth was an hour and a half long, like her labor. Like, she came in and she was already 10 centimeters, and she tried to get the epidural because she wanted it, and it wasn't setting in time, so she's screaming at him. And then, so he came in the room, he had just given it to her, and we hear her screaming at the top of her lungs, and she's saying, I can't do this, and then 2 minutes later you hear the baby crying. So I was like, wow, good for her. I wish I had that problem. But she was upset that her epidural didn't set in time, and the anesthesiologist was annoyed because she was yelling at him, and that he had to come in, and then they gave him 6 other things to do when he came in. So he, took it out on me, and I had, one of the most traumatizing experiences of my life. I had no problem with the epidural with my son, and I didn't hurt or anything. When he put it in, he put it in wrong and hit a nerve, and my back started spasming uncontrollably, and it was the most excruciating pain I've ever felt in my life, like worse than the Pitocin. I was screaming, "No, please stop, no, please stop," and crying hysterically, and I almost couldn't catch my breath. And he was like, "I didn't even do anything." That's what he said. And like Chris almost passed out, and he wanted to kill the guy, so he had to leave the room. And then he put it in right, and I was just sobbing because the anesthesiologist didn't care about my feelings. He didn't care that he hurt me, and it was really traumatizing. And I'm still trying to like process that and what happened, and I'm really upset about it. And I'm thinking about doing a formal complaint, but I don't know. I guess he went out in the hall and he didn't realize Chris was there, and he told the nurses that nothing even happened. I didn't even do anything. She's just a drama queen or something like that. So that's wonderful. Anyway, so the epidural started setting in, and it's almost 16 minutes. So let me start part. What am I on? I don't know. I'll start the next part. Okay, bye.